Welcome back to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do this without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to start by saying thank you to all of them. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including VSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to say thank you to our platinum sponsors, Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Gilman Gear, always a step ahead. Camp Mobile, where teams communicate better. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. And Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. Thank you to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast, this time featuring the FIAAA Insider. Our guest today is a good friend, Mark Lee. He's the athletic director at Hernando High School in Brooksville, Florida. He's also a member of our FIAAA Board of Directors as the District 5 representative. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me. And it's an honor to be able to speak with you about athletics and also be able to get the message across to other ADs as well.
We're really glad you're able to join us. We know it's a busy time. So let's go and jump right into it. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school and college? And maybe how that first teaching and coaching job, blossomed out of your love of athletics.
Right. Well, originally I was born right outside State College, Pennsylvania. I was an early child. They're working on our bell system right now, so you get to hear. But I was an early surprise with my parents, and we moved to Morgantown, West Virginia when I was little. I was like 4 or 5 years old, so I grew up in Mountaineer land, which was interesting because I had the Penn State blood in me and went to West Virginia, which used to be a huge rivalry. So I was always a Penn State fan, but Major Harris was probably one of my favorite players, probably my favorite college player of all time. So that was the only time I rooted against Penn State was when Major was at WVU. But my dad was always involved from the day I was born. He was playing college football at the time. Then he got into coaching, and so our family has always been involved with athletics. I went to sorry about that. You got 5 minutes to get to class now.
No worries.
But no, when we went to Morgantown, I ended up going to Morgantown High School. Same high school that the Bowden boys went to. Tommy, Terry, and Jeff all went to Morgantown High, as well as Don Knotts. Don Knotts went to my high school as well, Old Barney. So played football and baseball there. Then I went to college and played football and baseball. First college I went to was Waynesburg University, just south of Pittsburgh. I was there for 2 years playing football and baseball, and then decided to transfer to a little bit higher level. Went to Olivet Nazarene University, just south of Chicago. And where Ben Zobrist, for those in Major League Baseball, they might know him. He went to school there after me. He was a tad bit better than what I was playing. But he graduated from there. And then I got into the coaching world after college, started off coaching in college, mainly small colleges. Throughout the East and the Midwest, and then I got a huge break. I was a graduate assistant at West Virginia University for a couple years, working with tight ends. I was fortunate. It was first time working with tight ends, and the tight ends I worked with, I had one, Anthony Beck, who was a first-round draft pick that made me look really, really good as a coach, and Sean Burton, who played in the NFL for a few years. But I was able to learn from some great coaches. Hall of Famer Don Nealon was the head coach, and super, super guy. Great coach, but an even better person. Learned a great deal off him. And then, got to work with Daryl Hazel, who was, head coach in college and coached in the NFL for a little bit. So, I was able to be around some great coaches, Bill Legg, who's still coaching at the college level, and many others. So it's been great with who I've been able to speak with or be able to work with. So I was very fortunate, but then also, as you know, Jake, you coached in college, so it's you have some politics that get involved, and I ran into some of that at some of the small colleges, and so I decided to get into high school and coached. Got my first coaching job at Bartram Trail High School, just south of Jacksonville, and actually worked for a guy, Daryl Sutherland, who I coached against in college at a small college up in Virginia. So it was one of those small world stories, and got into it there, had a great time, and worked my way around, going up the ladder, was, coaching football. And then really, when I was coaching at Springstead High School, and Bob Levia was our athletic director there. And my dad was an athletic director, and I started looking more into that field. And several years later, now I'm an athletic director at Hernando High School here in Brooksville, Florida.
Talk a little bit about that transition from coach to AD. You obviously had an athletic background, but what were some surprises? What were some things maybe that didn't surprise you at all about taking on that job as opposed to just being a head coach?
Well, I think the one thing that I really got to find out from a high school standpoint, and also to go back to some of the small colleges too that I worked at, I could see where a lot of the similarities were. But and I think a lot of people are seeing it now with what we're experiencing with the pandemic, is how important football gate receipts are. That is one of the things I didn't realize. With how much football is able to pay a lot of bills, and a lot of those bills don't actually pertain to football. So and I know with everything that's going on, the shortened seasons and limited capacity and all that, that's everyone's dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and everyone understands the difference between wants and needs right now. And then it's with coaching with football, I coached football in college and a couple years of baseball at some of the small colleges I helped out. You just focus on those areas. As AD, it's, you don't just focus on particular sports. You got to focus on the venues, the liabilities, the paperwork, and also try to find a way to really get into the community, brand your school, fundraising, sponsorships. You try to do everything that you can to get your school's name out there into the public and into the community, and try to make a name for your school, and really make it a great experience for your student athletes and the community.
Yeah, there's no question. It's a much more global approach. You started to allude to a little bit talking about your career. In our profession, we always stress the importance of leadership and mentoring. Who were some of your mentors growing up, either coaches you had, or even people that you may have worked with or worked for?
Yeah, for me, I've been blessed, been around some great coaches. For me, it was funny. I was a quarterback in football, and I caught and played center field in baseball. But whoever says that quarterbacks get babied, obviously they didn't talk to my coaches, because I think a lot of it had to deal with my dad being a coach, and he was coaching at college, at a small college when I was playing in high school. There was definitely no babying, and there was no filter that came out of my coaches, but which was fine. I like that. I think that made me a better player, a better person, and mentally made me tougher. My high school coach, Glenn McNew, he was a guy that was like a second father to me. I still talk to him today. got to learn a great deal from him. And he would always find a way to challenge me. And, and like I said, he wouldn't sugarcoat things, which I liked. He would tell you straight was on his mind. So that was, it was a big benefit for me. Coach Neal was awesome. One, getting being a small college player and then getting an opportunity to be a GA at a Division I school, especially a school like WVU, that was a great opportunity, and really got to learn from him, a big name like that. And he did things the right way. Always had his door open to talk to you, whether it was football, personal stuff, just life in general. His past experiences, he was awesome. He was very good to talk with. I know college coach of mine, Mike Conway at Olivet. He was a player's coach, a very energetic coach, a defensive-minded coach, which was funny. Being an offensive guy, I got to see how when offense never had a good practice, it was just the defense having a bad practice, I guess. So, but I got to learn from him. And then obviously, probably my biggest mentor and my best friend today would be my dad. He got to learn a great deal from him. And it was, I actually got to play for him a couple of years, and that was interesting, thinking, because he was actually the offensive coordinator at the first college I went to, and I wasn't even planning on going there. And then, but I had my mind set I was going to play both football and baseball. And, at that point in time, that wasn't really looked highly upon. And I was mainly a Division II type prospect, and those Division II schools were, baseball coach said you can't play football, and a football coach said he couldn't play baseball. So I was like, let's mark that off the list, and ended up going to Waynesburg. Was there for a couple of years, and it was interesting because it was Coach Lee. It wasn't Dad, and he jumped my butt a few times. It was needed, but there was times where he would go overboard just to make sure that there wasn't that father-son favoritism, and and people knew that wasn't the case. But the hardest thing was, as Coach Lee, I had to bite my tongue. I couldn't say anything back because there was things that would be more painful from a physical standpoint with running. But no, it was great. And he was always up front and forward with me, and it was great experience to be able to play for him, not only as a coach but also as your father. And that was times I always cherish, is those 2 years of playing for him.
Guys, you're making me remember when I was coaching my son at high school, and I remember a couple of rides home. I was the head coach, and I'd say, "Hey, his name was TJ." I said, "TJ, that last set of up downs I made you do, that was for the team." And he goes, "Yeah, Dad, I know." So those are, again, great experience. I really enjoyed it as a dad. I think he enjoyed it as a son.
It was interesting conversations at times. And now one of the things when I went, because the school Waynesburg was about 30 minutes from Morgantown. We still lived in Morgantown. It was about 30 minutes away. And, I say, I'm staying there on campus. I want to get a college experience, and I think it'll be better for both you and I if I'm not staying at home. But there's times, on weekends, you got to get your laundry washed and get, mom's good home cooked food. We had some very quiet rides sometimes back, especially if, there was a game I might not have played as well as I should have. There was some quiet times, but then you know how it is. My dad was always real big with keeping me grounded and humble, and I'll never forget in my high school, I had probably my best game in high school. And I said, "Nah, not too bad. That's a decent day. I like today." He's like, "Yeah, but you could have done, if you would have had this right, if you would have made this read correctly, you would have had this happen." And I was like, "It's just never good enough, is it?" But then it was it was just him. Now, years later, you look back at it, it's like all he's trying to do is make you be better, and you're taking it personal, but he's trying to make you better, and don't settle for anything less. And I'm, you see that much later on in life, you understand it, and I'm very appreciative of it.
Very much those life lessons. Let's talk a little bit about Hernando. What are some things that you think that your coaches, your kids, your stakeholders, what are some things that you think they do really, really well from a high school experience? And maybe what's one thing that you're trying to, make that jump from good to great, do it even better?
Yeah, the good thing for us at Hernando High School, we are a true community high school. I mean, it's one of those, the sidewalks are closed down on Fridays, you get to the field and watch the game. It's a great high school football atmosphere. We've had some very successful players go through the ranks here. We had, obviously the most notable one here is Jerome Brown. The late Jerome Brown played high school ball here, and he, went on to Miami and played in the NFL with the Eagles with Reggie White, and he did an awful lot here. Prayed All-American, and there's so much tradition at Hernando, which I love. It's everybody, especially when you're playing well. I mean, you're the top dog. You're on top of the mountain, the king of the hill. But there's at some of the other high schools I've been, you don't have that, which you miss. But there's also pressures to it. That there's expectations and standards that are set that you want to be at that level, and that's good. I like that because I think that helps our student athletes with their characters. That that you understand that as an athlete, you're held to a higher standard, and that doesn't matter if you're at the high school, the college, or the professional level. You're going to be held to a higher standard. And people are going to know you. That's why I always tell kids, if you got a regular Joe Schmo that gets caught, shoplifting at the Dollar General, there's nothing going to be in the paper. But if it's your star player that gets arrested for chewing a piece or not paying for a piece of gum at Dollar General, then that's blown up in, headlines and front page that, star player arrested for shoplifting. And that's how it goes. You're going to have your benefits, you're going to have your perks, but also there's going to be things that that people are going to look at you. So that's one thing that's great here, though, is there's big expectations, there's standards that are set, there's excellence is something that is preached here and expected here, and that's something we want to do, and we're good at that. And I think one of the things I think that we need to be great, and I think this coming from the college atmosphere and being at the college side and seeing how things are done, our facilities aren't where they need to be at right now to be great. And I'm sure that's at a lot of places. It's not like, like Nick Saban can say, man, if we had this, it'd be great. And Coach Saban didn't have, 20 of those items at his door the next day. One of the things that we're trying to do is a turf football field we're trying to get. And I know we can get it here, and it's very beneficial. I've done a ton of research on it. And it's something that would be a great asset for us, not just athletic wise, but also academic wise with PE. It's been proven it's safer. You get more usage out of it. And then during the years of the warranty, you end up saving money on it. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that we need to do. And, with our weight room, I want to really renovate our weight room and make it something that outshines everybody else. And, like the old movie, A Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. And I think that's, especially with how our guidelines and rules are with, school choice now, facilities play such a major role in it. And I think that I truly believe if you're really good in athletics, you're going to be good in academics too. And that's a study that's been proven at a lot of places where they're high in athletics. They're also high in academics because just because of that standard that's set in athletics is also set in academics. And it's our job as administrators, teachers, athletic directors to show them, you know, less than 3% go on to college and less than 1% go on to play in professional ball. So you need your academics, whether it's to go into college or to go into, a trade. There's something that you got to make sure you got your priorities set and goals set and have the right path. And sometimes that's our job to, make sure that they're on the right path to get where we want them to be successful.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, talking about facilities, I can certainly echo that. About a year and a half ago, we were able to, at Maclay, completely renovate our weight room. We had a good weight room, but we had, a couple parents step forward and my boss stepped forward in a big way. And I would say, in Leon County, we've got the best weight room around, with the exception of Florida State University. We just have a great facility, and you can just see it in the kids when they come to PE classes or they come for workouts. They're jacked to come in there, and it really does make a difference. So good luck with those facility improvements. Okay?
No, thank you.
Let's go and shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about COVID. Certainly it's had an impact across the country. It's had an impact here in Florida. And we've seen a variety of responses. Some states move seasons around, football in the spring. Other states, it's business as usual. Let's play. We've seen a response in our own state here in Florida. We delayed things, and now we're sort of kind of back up. And full disclosure, we're recording this in late August, and this is going to air, a few weeks from now. And things may have changed by then. But for right now, what's happening in Hernando County? What's happening in Hernando High School?
Well, we will start our first practice for fall sports will be September 7th. We originally had it September 14th. Our biggest thing is with the SMAC report that we, when it first came out, we wanted to be in school 14 days or 2 weeks, basically. We wanted to be in school for 2 weeks to see what would happen before we would start up fall sports. And then things started to change around a little bit. So we ended up moving it to September 7th. So that way, if we wanted to opt into a state series, we'd be able to do that. For us, we're fortunate with Hernando County and Citrus County. We're members of, we started a couple years ago, the Gulf Coast 8 Conference. So it's us 8 schools. So we're playing just conference only. Originally how we had set up was conference only, and then we were going to opt out of the state series originally. And then we were going to have a championship week in regards with football. And volleyball, with all those fall sports, would be conference games, and we'd have conference tournament championship week. So that's what we were going to do. And then when some of the changes started happening, we talked. We didn't want to go to the 24th to start because we just didn't think that was still would be the best decision for us from a safety standpoint to get started right away with the numbers where they were at. So we moved it to the 7th, which still made us eligible to be able to opt in to the state series and get 7 games in.
Coach Kaz, please call extension 400. Coach Kaz, extension 400.
But so we did that, and that's where we're at. And I tell people I was when COVID hit, I was put in a very interesting position. We were on spring break, and a guy that's part of a company that deals with the state emergency team is a Hernando grad. And long story short, I got to drive box trucks throughout the state of Florida for 5 months, delivering COVID testing kits, medical supplies, hospital type gear. I mean, you name it. We pretty much delivered it, whether it be to Key West, to Pensacola, or up to the Florida-Georgia line on 95. We got to do it. And I know I've been there many times. My heart goes out to South Florida, the Miami-Dade area, Broward and all that. That is a different type of place. And I know people talk about, I don't think you really understand how bad they were affected and how bad they were hit. And I know we got some of our colleagues from down there with those on the board and also with all the other ADs there. I couldn't even imagine dealing with what they're doing, because if you didn't have a mask on down there, you looked like an alien if you didn't have one. And I know there was a very significant financial penalty if you didn't have, if you weren't wearing a mask. And that's, some people complain. I say, be very thankful for what you got, regardless of your situation, because there's somebody else that has a harder or is in a tougher situation than what you're in.
No, absolutely. Up here in the Panhandle, it was a very different world than what South Florida is experiencing. So hopefully by the time this airs, that's changed. Another topic that we've been asking our athletic directors this past spring in Minneapolis and Atlanta, and then just recently in Wisconsin, we've seen just a laser focus on social issues, social justice. And my question is, what are some things that we can do as athletic directors? What are some things that we can do better with our kids, with our teams, with our communities in this area of social awareness?
I think the biggest thing is communication, open up lines of communication. And I know one of the things we're doing here, Hernando, I want to bring in, our sheriff. I want him to come in and speak to our kids so they know, so they can ask him questions, he can answer, and he can ask them questions too. I think it's a situation where you can learn from each other. The one thing that bothers me the most is it's got to make it a two-way street. So it's everybody has the same expectations, and there's equality that goes both ways. And I know it's hard. Obviously I've never had to deal with some of the things that other people had to deal with. It's one of our administrators, he's an African American. I've talked with him, and I said, I've never been in your shoes, so I don't know how you've been judged or looked at. But I said, we were just talking. I said, but if we have an open lines of communication and make it a two-way street with everything, wouldn't that help? And he says, yeah, that would. But the problem is you got to get both sides, you got to get everybody on the same page. And that's the hardest thing to do. So that's the thing as the ADs, for me as an AD, I believe you got to, make sure if you see tension building, find a way to diffuse it. Pull, if it's two parties, hey, let's talk about this, and make sure they see it from both angles. It's, with everything that you see, and it's, and it seems like anytime something bad happens, it's always negative that's brought out instead of, what can we do to fix it? Obviously with some of the things that took place, you hate seeing that with what happened in Minnesota, and even, just the other day up in Wisconsin, you hate seeing that. And then you hear of the negative past. Well, there's got to be different ways that we can try to solve issues. Now, it's like I told, I was talking with our SRO, and, he was talking about some of the things that he had read and heard about with some of those situations or situations like that. And he said, well, I know this, if a police officer tells me to stop, I'm going to stop. If, a police officer tells me to do something, I'm going to do it. Because I told him, I said, if I was ever out in public and a police officer told me to stop, or, I'd say I'd put my hands up, out, whatever. He goes, I would tell you, put them down. I said, well, that's fine. Yeah, I'll put them down once you tell me, but I want you to say I'm complying. And he's like, well, not everyone's like what you see. I said, I get that, but as a person, I don't know. I don't know what that individual's mindset might be. Maybe he's going through some personal matters, had a bad day, what, I don't know. I just don't want to be, have a negative end result because of their day. But I think that's one, just to open up lines of communication, and realize that, it's one of the things I say, there's everyone, equality, that's great. And one of the things I talk with all of our kids, I say, you have the freedom of choice, but with those choices, there might come consequences as well. So, there's the right way to do things and there's the wrong way to do things. Me personally, looting and rioting, I don't think that solves anything. Those that might have negative feelings towards the people that are looting and rioting, I think you're just strengthening their opinion of it. But I just, I hate the how we're so divided at times. I think it could be such a, we live in a great country. We have freedom. There's things that a lot of other countries would love to have that we have in regards with rights and freedoms. I just wish, I wish there was a way that we could end some of this stuff and all get on the same page and become one.
I appreciate you sharing, Mark. Let's go and shift gears a little bit. What are some of your favorite things about being the athletic director at Hernando? What gets you excited about coming to work each day?
Just being able to have the impact on kids, with some of, like a lot of high schools, you have a lot of kids that might not have an adult figure or a father figure or someone like that in their life. You're able to be more than, a teacher or a coach or an AD. You can be someone that you can be a mentor to them where, they might not go on to college and play ball, but, 10 years later, they come, they're married, got kids, and they're having a great life. And, you might have been able to play some type of role in that. And that is one of the things that I truly like as an educator and a person involved with athletics is you get to see so many sides. You get to see, how they are at school. And what some of the other teachers might not know is, as a coach, you get to hear, whether you want to hear or you just accidentally hear, you get to hear about some of the things that they go through personally. And, that's one of the things that I truly enjoy. And, just like this past year, I had a kid that great kid, works hard. He's out at a junior college out in Kansas and, doesn't come from much, but, always willing to help me. And anytime I need to do something, always makes himself available. And, and so when he went, got him a little small refrigerator and a microwave for him to go to college. That was like the best thing ever for him. And I mean, it was good just seeing that you get to have a positive impact on some of those kids and truly play a role and how they're maturing and growing up.
No, I don't think there's any other career that allows for that, teaching and coaching. You get paid to, hang out with kids and coaches and go to games and, help them have a better life. So that's good to hear. Well, Mark, this has just flown by. I've really enjoyed visiting with you, but we're not quite done.
Okay.
We always like to wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. You're an experienced AD, and right now I'm going to task you with sending a brand new athletic director out on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you have 3 things to put in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Mark Lee's athletic director toolbox?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is a Google Calendar on your phone. And make sure that you keep that as accurate as can be, because you can't just write it down or put it in your head. There's so many things that come up. I remember my first year as an AD was the first year of a brand new school being built. So I got from ground zero as my first year as an AD. And luckily I was able to work with Bob Levia for a couple of years at Springstead to kind of be his understudy or, his protege, whatever you want to call it. So I got to learn from him a little bit. And then also with my dad being an AD, I got to get some advice from him. But that Google Calendar was something. We don't have secretaries either here in Hernando County. So that Google Calendar was my secretary and everything. So that would be the first thing I would do. So that way you're organized. That is, as an AD, if you are not organized, it is not going to be a very fun job, or be tough for you to be very successful if you're not organized. That would be the first thing that I would do. Second thing I would do, make yourself available to the community. Get out into the community, especially with here at Hernando. If you're at a school like this that's got a lot of tradition and the community is really behind and very supportive, get out into the community, do things, have your student athletes do things out in the community, bring everybody in together as one, be united. That makes things so much better. And also it's so much more enjoyable. When you have, like here, we have a huge parade for homecoming, which probably not going to happen this year, but which will be sad. But it's, we got the elementary school that's out, and I got my son. He's going to be in first grade this year, but last year he got to ride on the truck with us. Throwing out candy, and I mean it's just all the kids. I mean the streets are packed, and I'm like, doesn't anybody work during the day? But everybody comes out for the parade. And I mean, it's a lot of fun. We have a huge amount of people, typically non-COVID years, for a homecoming, it's jam-packed. I mean, it's a great atmosphere. And I think as an AD, you get out in the community, make yourself known, and you show that you want things to be successful and to be a great experience. That will carry a long way. And the third thing I would say is have a plan. Find something that you want to kind of put your name to, but have a plan that will put your school in what you feel is the best position for success, and also in the best position to get some notoriety for your school. Not so much with you, because let's face it, when we leave our job here as AD at Hernando and at your place, sports are still going to go on. They're just going to have a different AD. That's it. So it's I always had a coach that told me, what's your dash? When you started the job and when you ended your job, what was that dash? What did you do in between those numbers? And I think that's all part of the plan that you got to set up. And, it could change daily, monthly, yearly, but always make sure you set yourself a plan for what you see and what you want for your school.
Well, that's great advice. Thanks so much for sharing. Mark, appreciate you being with us. Best of luck as you get ready to reopen, and continued success this school year.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate the time, and wish everybody the best of luck. Stay safe, and for those out in Louisiana, Texas with the hurricane, thoughts and prayers are out to everyone there, and hopefully everything gets rebuilt and safer than ever.
Oh, absolutely. Appreciate you mentioning that. Well, to our listeners, thanks as always for tuning in. Come back again next time for another edition of the Educational AD.